stay focused. Because most people don't fail from lack of talent, strength, or opportunity. They fail because you can't hold your attention still long enough to become dangerous. And you know this hurts because it's true. You felt it in the hours lost, in the plans abandoned, in the half-built versions of yourself scattered behind you. You felt it when you looked busy but moved nowhere, when effort existed but progress didn't. And the reason wasn't fate or luck. It was distraction quietly bleeding you out, moment by moment, thought by thought, until your energy belonged to everything except what mattered. And while disciplined minds narrow their world and sharpen it, distracted minds expand endlessly and dissolve. And you've lived on that edge long enough to recognize the difference. Distraction didn't arrive loudly. It slipped in as comfort, as noise, as endless options, as the illusion of productivity. Jumping between goals because commitment felt heavy, chasing motivation because discipline felt boring, reacting emotionally because control required effort, consuming opinions because silence exposed weakness, starting strong because beginnings feel good, and quitting early because focus was never trained to endure. And the frustration you carry now comes from knowing the work was there, the time was there, the potential was there, but your attention was never protected, never disciplined, never owned. That frustration hardens into something else when awareness hits. When you finally see that distraction is not accidental, it's weakness tolerated. A leak you allowed because plugging it required discomfort, because saying no felt restrictive, because narrowing your world meant sacrificing stimulation. And this is the moment the switch flips, not into motivation, but into controlled anger. Because you realize your attention has been stolen only because you handed it over, piece by piece, and reclaiming it means cutting ruthlessly, not negotiating, not balancing, cutting. Focus is not a feeling, it is training. Forged the same way strength is forged, through resistance and repetition, through choosing one thing and enduring the discomfort of ignoring everything else, through staying when the mind begs to escape, through returning again and again when distraction pulls, because every resisted impulse sharpens control, every completed task reinforces identity, every hour spent locked in narrows you into someone precise, someone heavy, someone dangerous. The old version of you cannot survive this process. The one who multitasked to feel important, who procrastinated to avoid pressure, who waited for motivation to feel alive, who chased dopamine to escape boredom, who needed constant stimulation to feel real. That version burns here, quickly, cleanly, without ceremony, because distraction dies when attention becomes intentional, weakness dies when systems replace emotion. You stop romanticizing excitement and start respecting execution. You stop needing variety and start building depth. You stop reacting and start deciding, single task by single task, routine by routine, repetition by repetition, not because it's fun, but because it works, because focus compounds quietly while distraction resets you to zero every day. This is the silent warrior phase, where your world shrinks and sharpens, where you don't chase trends or react to noise or explain your absence, because your absence is the work. Your silence is the training, your restraint is the edge, and while others scatter their energy across 1,000 directions, you drive yours into one line until it pierces, until it holds, until it becomes who you are. Focus stops being something you try to maintain and becomes your default state. Not loud, not rushed, not emotional, just locked in. And when distraction knocks, it finds no entry, because your attention is guarded now, defended by standards, protected by discipline, hardened by repetition. And this is not a phase, not a challenge, not a temporary push. This is a declaration that your mind is no longer available for waste, that your energy is no longer negotiable, that from this point forward, you move narrowed, deliberate, precise, because focus is power, and you have chosen to become it. And once that choice is made, once focus becomes the rule instead of the exception, something unsettling begins to happen inside you. The noise you once depended on starts to feel unbearable. The constant stimulation that kept you distracted now feels like weakness disguised as entertainment, and you realize how addicted the world is to scattering its attention. How few can sit still with one task, one goal, one direction, long enough to extract real power from it. And this realization doesn't make you arrogant. It makes you disciplined, because you understand that attention is the rarest resource left, and whoever controls it controls outcomes. You stop measuring days by how busy they felt and start measuring them by what was completed, what was moved forward, what was pushed through resistance, because resistance no longer surprises you. It is expected, it is welcomed, it is the signal that focus is being tested and therefore trained. The ME. Indy complains at first, loudly, desperately, throwing boredom, fatigue, doubt, and temptation at you. Anything to break your concentration and return you to comfort. But you don't argue with it anymore. You don't soothe it. You don't negotiate. You let it scream while your hands keep working, because discipline is not the absence of resistance. It is action in the presence of it. Hours like this carve something permanent into you, an internal stillness, a calm intensity that doesn't rush and doesn't waver. And this stillness becomes your advantage, because while others burn energy reacting to every notification, every opinion, every emotional spike, you conserve yours, aim it, release it only where it matters. Focus teaches you patience, not passive patience, but controlled patience. The kind that allows you to work without immediate reward, to build without applause, to prepare without visibility, because you finally understand that results don't respond to urgency, they respond to consistency, and consistency only exists where attention is protected. The days stack, the weeks harden, the routines solidify, and slowly the chaos that once lived in your mind loses its grip, replaced by structure, by order, by a clear hierarchy of what matters and what does not. And this clarity sharpens your decisions, making them faster, cleaner, more final. You stop second-guessing because focus leaves no room for endless reconsideration. You chose, you committed, you execute, and that execution builds confidence far stronger than any affirmation ever could, because it is earned through proof, through finished work, through visible progress that distraction could never sustain. Others may mistake your quiet for lack of ambition, your narrow focus for limitation, your absence for disengagement, but they don't see what's being forged beneath the surface. They don't feel the pressure you willingly endure, the discipline you impose when no one is enforcing it, and their misunderstanding doesn't slow you down. Because focus has already taught you the cost of caring about opinions that don't contribute to your mission. The more you train it, the more ruthless you become with your time, not cruel, but precise, cutting away conversations that drift nowhere, habits that drain energy, commitments that fracture attention, because every unnecessary demand is an attack on your focus, and you defend it like territory. There is a shift then, from effort to momentum, from forcing yourself to work to finding yourself already working. Because focus, once trained, pulls you forward naturally. It narrows the path until there is only one direction left, forward. And this momentum feels different from motivation. It is quieter, heavier, more reliable. It doesn't spike and crash, it endures. Even setbacks lose their power here, because distraction feeds on chaos, but focus feeds on correction. You adjust without drama, refine without complaint, continue without hesitation, and this ability to continue becomes your defining trait. Not brilliance, not speed, but persistence under attention. You realize that focus is not about ignoring life. It is about choosing which parts of life deserve your energy and making that choice daily, relentlessly, until it becomes instinct. The world may continue to fragment, attention spans may shorten, noise may grow louder, but you move in the opposite direction, deeper, slower, more deliberate, because depth is where power accumulates. And eventually, almost without noticing, you cross a line. The line where staying focused is no longer something you struggle to do. It is something you struggle not to do because your mind has adapted. It craves alignment. It resists chaos. It seeks the calm pressure of one clear objective. And in that sense, you are no longer competing with others. You are competing with time, with limits, with the ceiling of your own capacity. This is where focus stops being a tool and becomes an identity, where distraction has no place because it doesn't match who you are anymore. And when challenges come, when pressure increases, when stakes rise, you don't scatter, you narrow further, you lock in deeper because this is what you've trained for, this is what you've become. And you carry this understanding quietly, without announcement, without urgency, knowing that while the world chases everything, you are mastering one thing at a time. And that mastery will outlast every distraction that once tried to claim you. And from that place of mastery, something final settles in. A kind of internal gravity that keeps pulling you back to the work, no matter what the world throws at you. Because focus has reshaped how you experience time itself. Hours stop feeling like something to kill and start feeling like something to invest. And every investment is deliberate, chosen, protected. Because you remember too clearly what it felt like to waste days scattered across distractions that gave nothing back. The temptation never fully disappears. It just loses authority. It speaks, but it no longer commands. Because you've trained yourself to recognize the pattern. The moment the mind reaches for escape instead of effort. The moment it tries to trade long-term power for short-term relief, and you cut it off without ceremony, not with emotion, not with self-talk, but with action, returning to the task, returning to the process, returning to the narrow lane you've chosen. This repetition builds a quiet confidence, not the loud kind that seeks validation, but the grounded kind that comes from knowing you can sit with discomfort longer than most, that you can work when enthusiasm is gone, that you can remain steady while others spiral. And this steadiness becomes your edge in every environment, because pressure exposes focus instantly, and you are no longer exposed. When problems arise, you don't scatter your attention across panic and speculation. You isolate the variable, address it, move forward. Because focus simplifies complexity, it strips chaos down to what can be acted on now. And that ability to act cleanly under pressure is what separates those who endure from those who break. You start to notice how many people are exhausted, not from effort, but from fragmentation, from switching constantly, from never finishing, from carrying unfinished mental loops everywhere they go, and you feel the relief of having one direction at a time, one priority at a time, one demand placed fully under your attention until it is resolved. This relief doesn't make you soft, it makes you sharper, because clarity reduces friction, and friction is what drains energy unnecessarily. As the days continue, focus becomes the foundation everything else stands on. Discipline holds because focus supports it. Consistency holds because focus protects it. Growth holds because focus sustains it. And without announcing, without declaring transformation, you become someone different. Someone whose presence feels heavier, whose silence feels intentional, whose movement feels controlled. Distraction can no longer pull you apart, because there is nothing loose to grab onto. Every part of your attention has a place, a purpose, a direction. And in the end, this is what makes focus irreversible. You've seen what life looks like without it, and you refuse to return, because you now understand that focus is not restriction, it is freedom. Freedom from wasted effort, from borrowed urgency, from the endless noise that keeps most people busy but nowhere. And you carry that understanding forward quietly, low, checked in, deliberate, knowing that whatever comes next, whatever pressure arrives, your attention will not fracture, it will narrow, sharpen, and hold, because staying focused is no longer something you try to do, it is who you are.